In the vast expanse of time before the chronicles of history were ever etched, the earth breathed a wild, untamed rhythm. Consider an age when the stars wheeled over landscapes yet unmarked by modern hands. Picture snow-laden tundras stretching towards an unforgiving horizon, sun-scorched savannas teeming with colossal life, and volcanic peaks piercing the tumultuous sky. This was a world of raw elemental power. Here, humanity, nascent and vulnerable, took its first tentative steps. The air itself hummed with a primal energy, a silent testament to the unceasing struggle for existence. Life was a direct, unfiltered experience, governed by the immutable laws of nature, not by the artificial constructs of a later age. Survival in this ancient theatre was not a matter of convenience or choice. It was an unyielding imperative. It did not arrive neatly packaged, nor was it found in cultivated rows. Instead, it was seized through relentless effort, through the keen edge of a sharpened stone and the unwavering courage of the hunt. It was a drama played out in tooth and claw, a testament to the fierce will to endure. The scent of blood and the warmth of rendered fat were the perfumes of sustenance. Fire, painstakingly kindled, was not merely for warmth, but for the transformation of the kill into life-giving nourishment. This was the stark, unadorned reality for our ancestors, a daily dance with mortality. What then was the cornerstone of this ancient existence? What fueled these early humans, allowing them to not only survive, but to begin their slow, arduous ascent? The answer lies not in the gentle browse of the fields, but in the pursuit of flesh. The energy required to outwit formidable beasts, the strength to bring them down, and the vital nutrients to thrive in harsh climes all pointed to a single powerful source. Animal matter, rich in dense calories and essential building blocks, was the prize. It was the fuel that powered their muscles, sharpened their senses, and laid the very foundations for the complex beings we would become. This was nature's unambiguous provision. How profoundly different this primal scene appears when contrasted with our modern world. Today, we navigate aisles filled with an bewildering array of processed concoctions. We push trolleys laden with brightly coloured boxes, promising health and convenience, yet often delivering biochemical confusion. Seed oils, refined grains, and sugary beverages have become staples, a far cry from the ancestral fare that shaped our biology. The direct instinctual connection to our food source has been severed, replaced by layers of industrial processing and marketing narratives. The question then arises, have we, in our relentless pursuit of progress, strayed too far from the path nature intended for us? Have we forgotten the very essence of our own sustenance? As we gaze back across the millennia, a profound question emerges from the mists of time. What specific nourishment propelled the human animal forward on its extraordinary evolutionary journey? What precise elements forged the incredible organ that sits within our skulls? The human brain, this remarkable structure capable of composing timeless symphonies, capable of peering into the farthest reaches of distant galaxies, capable of understanding the very atoms that constitute reality, did not simply spring into existence. It was meticulously built, molecule by molecule, over vast stretches of time. The answer to its development is critical to understanding our present condition and our future well-being. Let us be unequivocal. The architects of this astonishing cognitive development were not the fashionable foods of recent dietary trends. It was not the delicate quinoa grain, cultivated relatively recently in human history. Nor was it the leafy kale, often lauded yet offering a different spectrum of nutrients. These foods, while possessing their own characteristics, do not align with the deep ancestral needs that shaped our core biology. The forces that sculpted our brains and bodies were far more primal, far more potent. To suggest otherwise is to ignore the vast timeline of our species' journey, a journey predominantly spent not as farmers, but as highly effective hunters and gatherers of the most energy-dense foods available. The answer, stark and unambiguous, lies in meat. It was the flesh of animals, rich in vital fats and proteins, that provided the essential building blocks for our burgeoning intellects. The unique fatty acids, such as DHA, found abundantly in animal tissues, are critical components of neural structures. The cholesterol, often mistakenly vilified, is a fundamental substance for cell membranes and hormone production, indispensable for a healthy, functioning brain. This was the diet of the apex predator, the diet that fueled the expansion of the human mind and enabled our ancestors to not merely survive the harsh realities of their world, but to begin to master them, to innovate, and to create. This consumption of animal matter was not merely about staving off hunger, it was about construction. It built robust bodies, capable of enduring incredible hardship and performing feats of strength and endurance. It forged resilient immune systems, honed in a world teeming with pathogens. It laid down the neurological pathways that would eventually give rise to language, to art, to complex social structures, and to the very concept of discovery. The symphonies, the galaxies, the atoms all were, in a fundamental sense, born from the energy and the nutrients gleaned from the successful hunt. Meat was, and perhaps remains, the bedrock upon which human potential was built. This exploration, therefore, brings us to the concept of the carnivore diet. It is crucial to understand this dietary approach, not as a fleeting fad, nor as a restrictive gimmick born of modern anxieties. Instead, we propose to view it as a profound act of biological resurrection. It is an attempt to reconnect with a way of eating that is deeply embedded within our genetic heritage, a pattern of nourishment that sustained our lineage for the overwhelming majority of its existence. It is a conscious choice to step away from the dietary cacophony of the modern age and listen once more to the ancient whispers of our own physiology, to what our bodies truly recognize. This is not merely about what is excluded, but profoundly about what is included and why. The carnivore diet, in its essence, is a return to the fundamental principles of animal-based nutrition. It prioritizes the very foods that our ancestors sought and consumed: muscle meat, organ meats, fats, and the bounty of the waters. It is a recognition that our digestive systems, our metabolic pathways, and even our neurological functions were shaped over eons by the specific nutrient matrix found in these foods. It is a deliberate alignment with an evolutionary legacy, a way of eating that speaks to the core of our biological identity, rather than contradicting it with novel, industrially conceived foodstuffs. We speak, then, of a forgotten blueprint. Imagine an architect's original design for a magnificent structure, a design that perfectly balances form and function, strength and elegance. Over time, misguided renovations and additions obscure the original intent, leading to instability and disrepair. The carnivore diet can be likened to stripping away these detrimental additions, to rediscovering that original master blueprint for human health. It posits that many of the chronic ailments plaguing modern society may stem, in part, from our collective deviation from this ancestral dietary pattern, a pattern that once ensured our vigor and resilience in a challenging world. This journey is an invitation to explore this blueprint. It is a call to examine the evidence, both ancient and emerging, that supports a radical reconsideration of what constitutes optimal human nutrition. We will delve into the evolutionary pressures that shaped our dietary needs, scrutinize the historical shifts that led us away from them, and investigate the compelling science that suggests a return to an animal-based diet may hold profound benefits for health, vitality, and the reclaiming of our innate biological potential. This is the story of the carnivore diet, not just as a diet, but as a potential key to unlocking a more robust and vibrant state of being as nature originally intended. For a span of time so vast it dwarfs all recorded history, our ancestors walked the earth not as cultivators of the soil, but as relentless, resourceful hunter-gatherers. Consider this. For over 99% of humanity's tenure on this planet, the primary mode of existence was inextricably linked to the pursuit and consumption of animal life. This was not a fleeting phase, but an enduring epoch that fundamentally sculpted our biology. The environments they navigated were often harsh and unforgiving, demanding extraordinary adaptability, resilience, and an intimate understanding of the natural world. Humanity was not then an entity separate from the ecosystem, but an integral, dynamic part of its intricate web, shaped by its pressures and sustained by its ancient bounty. The daily life of these early humans was a testament to unceasing movement and formidable challenge. The hunt was no mere pastime, no casual stroll for provisions. It was the central drama of existence, a complex undertaking requiring immense skill, profound courage, and intricate cooperation. Imagine bands of early humans armed with rudimentary yet effective tools, tracking colossal beasts across sweeping plains or through dense primeval forests. They faced creatures of immense power, the mammoths, the giant elks, the formidable cave bears. Success meant survival and abundance. Failure could signify starvation or peril. This relentless pursuit forged not only physical prowess, but also complex social bonds, communication, and strategic thinking, critical for the survival of the group. The rewards for these perilous endeavors were profound, offering a concentration of energy and nutrients unparalleled in the plant kingdom. Animal flesh, rich in complete proteins and vital fats, became the cornerstone of their diet. Organs, marrow, and even the brains of their prey provided a dense spectrum of vitamins and minerals, fueling their bodies and minds. This consistent dietary pattern, dominated by animal products, was not a matter of choice, but a biological imperative, meticulously shaping human metabolism, our capacity for endurance, and our very physical architecture over countless generations. The energy derived from fat and protein was the very currency of life, enabling sustained effort and the development of increasingly sophisticated survival strategies in a competitive world. This immense period, the long reign of the hunter, has left an indelible imprint upon our species. Our genetic code, the very blueprint of our being, was meticulously edited and refined by the demands and provisions of this ancestral lifestyle. Our deepest instincts, our physiological responses to food, and our fundamental nutritional requirements were all forged in the crucible of the hunt. To truly understand human health today, we must look back to this formative era, for it represents the authentic baseline, the original dietary context to which our bodies remain exquisitely attuned. Any deviation from this ancient pattern, however recent in evolutionary terms, must be scrutinized against this profound biological heritage. Section 2 whispers in our physiology and anatomy forged by flesh. Our own bodies serve as living chronicles, intricate archives holding the subtle yet undeniable evidence of our long evolutionary journey. If we venture beyond the superficialities of external appearance and delve into the internal architecture of human physiology, a compelling narrative unfolds. This story, etched into the very fabric of our cells and organs, speaks volumes about the diet that shaped us. The human digestive system, in particular, offers a remarkable window into our ancestral eating habits, revealing adaptations perfectly suited to the consumption and processing of animal matter. These are not mere coincidences, but biological testaments to a past dominated by the successful acquisition and assimilation of flesh. Consider the environment of the human stomach, a chamber of astonishingly high acidity. The gastric juices we produce can rival those of dedicated scavengers, creatures whose diets routinely include materials that would sicken or even kill other animals. This intense acidity serves a dual, critical purpose. Firstly, it is exceptionally effective at denaturing and breaking down large quantities of complex proteins, the primary components of meat. Secondly, it provides a formidable defense against pathogens, neutralizing harmful bacteria and parasites that may have been present on animal foods, particularly in an era before refrigeration. Such a potent chemical shield is less a feature of herbivores whose plant-based diets present different digestive challenges. Moving further along the digestive tract, the human small intestine is notably long, providing an extensive surface area dedicated to the absorption of nutrients. This is precisely what one would expect in a creature whose diet is rich in readily bioavailable proteins and fats, the hallmarks of animal tissues. In stark contrast, our colon, or large intestine, is relatively short and possesses a simple structure. This anatomical feature strongly suggests that our ancestors did not rely heavily on the fermentation of tough plant fibers to extract energy, a process that in true herbivores requires a large, complex colon teeming with specialized microbes. Our digestive strategy prioritizes direct absorption over microbial breakdown. Beyond these major structures, other physiological whispers hint at our carnivorous heritage. Our taste receptors, for instance, show a keen sensitivity to umami, the savory taste characteristic of meats and broths, signaling the presence of valuable amino acids. Our pancreas dutifully secretes a range of powerful enzymes, proteases and lipases, specifically designed to dismantle animal proteins and fats. Furthermore, the documented ability of certain human populations, such as the Inuit or Maasai, to thrive for extended periods, even lifetimes, on diets composed almost exclusively of animal products, stands as a powerful modern-day echo of our species' profound and ancient adaptation to a flesh-based sustenance. Section 3. The Voracious Brain. Meat as the catalyst for cognitive ascension. The human brain, that astonishing 3-pound universe of thought and awareness, stands as one of nature's most remarkable achievements. Yet this intricate organ is an exceptionally greedy consumer of energy. While accounting for a mere fraction of our body weight, it demands a disproportionately large share of our daily caloric intake, even at rest. Such an energetically expensive organ did not and could not evolve on a diet of sparse, low-quality nutrients. Its development from more modest primate beginnings into the powerhouse of cognition we possess today required a consistent, dense, and highly bioavailable source of fuel, a dietary shift of monumental consequence. That crucial fuel, the catalyst for this cognitive blossoming, was undoubtedly animal matter. Meat, fat, and organs provided an unparalleled concentration of the specific building blocks essential for neural architecture and function. Consider DHA, an omega-3 fatty acid, which is a primary structural component of brain tissue and the retina. It is found pre-formed and abundant in fatty fish and the brains of animals. Vitamin B12, vital for the formation of myelin sheaths that insulate nerve fibers and for the synthesis of neurotransmitters, is almost exclusively available in bioavailable forms from animal sources. Iron, crucial for oxygen transport to brain cells. Zinc, indispensable for neurodevelopment and synaptic plasticity. And cholesterol, a fundamental component of every cell membrane and a precursor to vital hormones, were all readily supplied by a diet rich in hunted and scavenged fare. The expensive tissue hypothesis offers a compelling framework for understanding this evolutionary trajectory. It suggests that as early humans began to incorporate more nutrient-dense animal foods into their diet, there was a corresponding reduction in the size and energy demands of the gut, Digesting large volumes of fibrous plant matter requires a substantial intestinal tract and considerable metabolic effort. By shifting towards easily digestible calorie-rich meat and fat, metabolic resources were freed up. This energetic surplus could then be reallocated to support the growth and maintenance of another metabolically costly organ, the brain. This was a pivotal evolutionary trade-off, a smaller gut for a larger, more powerful mind. This superior nutrition did not merely construct a physically larger brain, it ignited its potential, fueling the cognitive revolution that defines our species. The enhanced energy and specific neuronutrients provided by animal foods powered the development of complex problem-solving abilities, the capacity for abstract thought, the genesis of language, and the creation of increasingly sophisticated tools and collaborative social strategies. The spark of human uniqueness, our ability to innovate, communicate, and reshape our world, was fanned into a brilliant flame by the consistent and abundant consumption of meat. It was the dietary key that unlocked the vast potential lying dormant within the primate brain, setting us on a trajectory unlike any other creature on Earth. Section 4. Stone, bone, and ancient appetites, archaeological testaments to a carnivorous past. The very earth beneath our feet serves as a vast silent archive, holding within its layers the chronicles of our deepest antiquity. Through the meticulous work of archaeologists, these ancient records are gradually being unearthed, revealing tangible evidence of our ancestors' lives, their struggles, and crucially, their diets. Among the most enduring and eloquent of these artifacts are the stone tools, crafted with increasing ingenuity over millions of years. These implements, fashioned from flint, chert, and obsidian, are not merely primitive curiosities. They are the unmistakable signatures of minds actively engaged in the challenge of acquiring and processing sustenance primarily from animal sources. The earliest of these stone tools, dating back well over 2 million years, tell a clear story. They were not the delicate implements one might associate with the gathering or grinding of plants. Instead, they were robust choppers, sharp-edged flakes, and heavy-duty scrapers' tools designed explicitly for the tasks of butchery. Imagine our ancient forebears wielding these primal instruments to dismember the carcasses of large animals, to slice through tough hide and sinew, to break open bones, and to access the calorie-dense marrow and nutrient-rich brains concealed within. These tools represent a profound technological leap, enabling early humans to efficiently exploit a food source previously inaccessible to many other primates. Across ancient landscapes, from the plains of Africa to the caves of Europe and Asia, faunal remains, the bones of animals, are frequently discovered in close association with hominin fossils and their characteristic tools. These animal bones often bear the telltale signatures of human activity, distinct cut marks inflicted by stone implements during dismemberment, and percussion fractures resulting from the deliberate smashing of long bones to extract the highly prized marrow. The systematic nature of this butchery, evident at numerous archaeological sites, points not to occasional scavenging, but to a consistent and sophisticated strategy of hunting or aggressive scavenging of large game, cementing meat's place at the core of their diet. Further compelling evidence comes from the sophisticated techniques of isotopic analysis. By examining the stable isotopes of elements like carbon and nitrogen preserved in ancient human and animal bones, scientists can reconstruct past food webs and determine an organism's trophic level, its position in the food chain. Time and again, these isotopic studies of early human remains reveal a high nitrogen-15 signature, unequivocally indicating that our ancestors occupied a lofty trophic position. This is the chemical fingerprint of a diet rich in animal protein, confirming that for vast stretches of our evolutionary past, humans were indeed formidable predators, regularly consuming significant quantities of meat. After millions of years spent roaming the earth as nomadic hunter-gatherers, a profound transformation began to unfold, a change so significant it would irrevocably alter the course of human history and our relationship with food. This was the dawn of agriculture, the Neolithic revolution which took root in various parts of the world approximately 10 to 12,000 years ago. In the grand sweep of evolutionary time, this shift represents but a mere blink of an eye, an astonishingly recent development when contrasted with the immense epoch during which hunting and gathering defined human existence. Yet its consequences for our diet and lifestyle were and continue to be monumental. The initial allure of agriculture was undeniably powerful. The cultivation of crops like wheat, rice, and corn, and the domestication of animals for food and labor promised a more settled existence and the potential for storable food surpluses. This in turn allowed for the support of larger, denser populations in fixed settlements, a departure from the smaller mobile bands of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. The perceived predictability of farmed food, a buffer against the inherent uncertainties of the hunt, offered a seductive alternative. Villages grew into towns and eventually into cities, all built upon the foundation of this new way of producing sustenance. However, this transition, while offering certain advantages, also brought with it a series of unforeseen nutritional trade-offs. The shift towards a diet heavily reliant on a few staple crops often led to a narrow range of essential nutrients compared to the diverse array of animal and wild plant foods consumed by hunter-gatherers. Increased consumption of carbohydrates, particularly from grains, became commonplace. Archaeological records from early agricultural societies begin to show evidence of new health challenges, a rise in dental caries due to starchy diets, signs of iron deficiency, anemia, and in some populations a reduction in average stature, suggesting periods of nutritional stress. These were the subtle, creeping costs of a radically altered dietary landscape. This agricultural revolution marks the great crossroads in human dietary history, the pivotal moment when our ancestral food patterns began to diverge significantly from the blueprint that had shaped our biology for millennia. The intimate, direct connection our hunter-gatherer forebears had with their food sources started to wane, replaced by a more indirect relationship mediated by cultivation and storage. The journey from active hunter, possessing deep ecological knowledge, to passive shopper, increasingly reliant on others for food provision, began here. This fundamental shift set the stage for the complex dietary landscape of the modern world, and with it, the growing disconnect between our ancient biology and our contemporary plates. The mid-20th century witnessed a seismic shift in our understanding, or rather our misunderstanding, of human nutrition. Following the initial salvos fired against traditional animal fats, a new era of dietary governance began to take shape. It was an age where good intentions, ostensibly aimed at shielding the populace from the spectre of heart disease, became entangled with incomplete science and the burgeoning influence of industrial food production. The path to widespread dietary confusion, it seems, was paved with official pronouncements. These declarations, once set in motion, would prove remarkably resistant to change, embedding themselves deeply within the public consciousness and the very fabric of institutional advice for decades to follow, creating a new norm from a contested hypothesis. Government bodies, armed with the preliminary and, as we now understand, selective findings of researchers like Ansel Keys, began the monumental task of codifying new dietary truths. The iconic food pyramid, with its broad base of grains and cereals, and its diminutive apex grudgingly reserved for fats and red meats, became a ubiquitous symbol of this new nutritional paradigm. Dietary goals were established, disseminated through schools, public health campaigns, and medical pamphlets, all urging a reduction in fat, particularly saturated fat from animal sources. Yet, These sweeping recommendations often rested upon a surprisingly fragile foundation of evidence, overlooking the vast span of human history where such foods were not villains, but vital sustenance, the very bedrock of survival and strength. The burgeoning food industry, ever astute to the currents of public policy and consumer perception, was quick to adapt and indeed to capitalize on these shifting guidelines. A new market landscape emerged, dominated by products proudly proclaiming themselves as low-fat or cholesterol-free. To achieve palatability in the absence of natural fats, manufacturers frequently turned to sugar, refined carbohydrates, and an array of artificial additives. These reformulated products, often cheaper to produce and boasting a longer shelf life, flooded supermarket aisles. The industry thrived, aligning its commercial interests seamlessly with the official dietary narrative, while the true nutritional impact of these engineered foods remained largely unscrutinized by a trusting public. The consequence of this confluence of factors, selective science, governmental endorsement, and industrial opportunism, was the gradual entrenchment of a dietary dogma. The public, understandably trusting the pronouncements of health authorities and the labels on their food, diligently attempted to adhere to this new wisdom. Fat was meticulously trimmed from meat, butter was supplanted by margarine, and whole eggs were eyed with suspicion. Yet as individuals embraced these changes, a troubling paradox began to emerge. The very diseases these guidelines sought to prevent showed no signs of retreat. Instead, the seeds of modern metabolic dysfunction were perhaps unwittingly being sown, watered by official advice and cultivated by industrial ingenuity. Central to this new dietary orthodoxy was the relentless demonization of saturated fats and dietary cholesterol. These compounds, integral to animal physiology and for millennia a cornerstone of the human diet, were recast as insidious agents of cardiovascular destruction. Saturated fat, found abundantly in red meat, dairy products, and tropical oils like coconut, became public enemy number one. Cholesterol, a substance so vital that every cell in our body can synthesize it, was similarly maligned, particularly the cholesterol found in nutrient-dense foods such as eggs and liver. This narrative took hold with remarkable tenacity, instilling a deep-seated fear of these natural fats in generations of people, profoundly altering eating habits across the Western world and beyond. The scientific arguments used to condemn these fats were often built upon observational studies, which, while capable of identifying associations, cannot definitively prove causation. The infamous lipid hypothesis, suggesting a direct link between dietary saturated fat, elevated blood cholesterol, and heart disease, gained widespread acceptance. However, this hypothesis frequently overlooked confounding variables such as sugar intake, smoking rates, and levels of physical activity. Contradictory evidence, including studies of populations consuming high amounts of saturated fat with low rates of heart disease, was often downplayed or dismissed. The complexities of human metabolism, where dietary fats play diverse and crucial roles, were frequently reduced to simplistic, fear-inducing sound bites that resonated more with alarm than with nuanced understanding. This pervasive fat-phobia triggered a cascade of changes in food manufacturing and consumer behavior. The marketplace became inundated with low-fat versions of virtually every conceivable foodstuff. Butter, a traditional fat cherished for centuries, was widely replaced by highly processed margarines, often laden with trans fats. Industrial creations later found to be far more detrimental to cardiovascular health. Egg yolks were discarded in favor of anemic egg white omelets, and full-fat milk gave way to its watery, skimmed counterpart. In this quest to excise fat, what was often lost was not only flavor and natural satiety, but also the vital fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K that are naturally packaged with animal fats, crucial for myriad bodily functions. The true cost of this crusade against natural fats is now becoming increasingly apparent. Despite decades of low-fat dietary advice, rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and, paradoxically, heart disease continued their relentless climb. The reduction in dietary fat often led to a compensatory increase in the consumption of refined carbohydrates and sugars, contributing to insulin resistance and chronic inflammation, key drivers of modern metabolic diseases. Hormonal imbalances also emerged as a concern, given that cholesterol is a fundamental precursor to essential hormones, including sex hormones and vitamin D. The great fear of fat, it appears, may have inadvertently steered us away from vital nourishment and towards a precipice of ill health. As animal fats and meats were increasingly cast in a negative light, an alternative dietary philosophy began to gain significant traction. The narrative promoting plant-based diets started to weave its way into the mainstream, initially often championed for compelling ethical considerations regarding animal welfare or for pressing environmental concerns about the impact of livestock farming. These are undeniably important and valid discussions. However, this movement gradually and sometimes seamlessly co-opted the language of health and nutrition, positioning plant-exclusive or plant-dominant diets not merely as a conscious choice, but as the superior or even a morally righteous path to human vitality, often framing animal foods as inherently problematic for well-being. This led to a widespread, often uncritical conflation of the term plant-based with healthy. The prevailing notion became that an increased intake of plant matter was invariably beneficial, while the consumption of animal products was, by implication, detrimental or, at best, to be minimized. This simplistic dichotomy, however, frequently glossed over the intricate complexities of nutritional science. While a diet rich in diverse whole plant foods certainly offers many benefits, the assertion that exclusive reliance on plants is optimal for all humans, or that animal foods lack unique and critical contributions, is a significant oversimplification. Our evolutionary history as omnivores, capable of thriving on a spectrum of foods, suggests a more nuanced reality than this binary perspective allows. The promotion of this plant-centric narrative was significantly amplified by various media outlets, influential advocacy groups, and, increasingly, by commercial enterprises marketing plant-based alternatives. While many proponents were and are driven by sincere beliefs and a desire for a healthier world, the message sometimes outpaced the comprehensive scientific evidence, particularly concerning the long-term impacts of diets devoid of all animal products on broad populations. A new dietary orthodoxy began to solidify, one where the virtues of plants were extolled with fervent enthusiasm, sometimes creating an environment where questioning the universal applicability of strict plant-based regimes or highlighting the unique benefits of animal foods could be met with resistance. In this evolving dietary landscape, the profound nutritional completeness of animal-derived foods often found itself subtly marginalized or even actively downplayed. Critical aspects, such as the superior bioavailability of heme iron and vitamin B12 from meat, the preformed nature of vitamin A, retinol in liver, or the complete protein profiles readily available in animal products, were frequently overshadowed by the emphasis on plant virtues. The potential challenges associated with obtaining all essential nutrients in their most usable forms from plants alone, including the presence of antinutrients that can inhibit absorption, were not always given due prominence in the popular discourse. This imbalance in information continued to shape public perception and dietary choices, steering many further away from ancestral patterns of eating. The anti-fat, anti-meat dogma, once it had taken root in public health policy, inevitably permeated the halls of medical education and institutions of nutritional science. For generations, aspiring doctors and dietitians were instructed according to the prevailing low-fat guidelines, The curriculum often emphasized the perceived dangers of saturated fat and cholesterol, reinforcing the message that red meat was a primary culprit in the development of heart disease and other chronic ailments. Comprehensive training in the nuances of nutritional biochemistry, the complexities of human metabolism across diverse dietary patterns, or the deep evolutionary context of our dietary needs, was often limited, leaving many practitioners equipped primarily to echo the official yet increasingly challenged advice. This educational framework naturally translated into clinical practice. Patients visiting their doctors for routine checkups or concerns about chronic conditions were frequently advised, as a matter of course, to reduce their intake of red meat, choose lean poultry, and opt for low-fat dairy products. Such counsel was typically delivered with the best of intentions, aimed at promoting patient health according to the established medical consensus. However, it often lacked individualization, failing to consider the patient's unique metabolic state, their ancestral background, or the actual quality of the animal products being consumed versus the highly processed, carbohydrate-rich alternatives they might adopt instead. The subtle art of personalized nutrition was often lost in the broad strokes of generalized public health messaging. The pharmaceutical industry, too, found itself with a significant stake in this prevailing dietary narrative. As conditions like high cholesterol and heart disease became more prevalent despite or perhaps fueled by the low-fat dietary shift, the demand for pharmacological interventions grew. Statin medications designed to lower cholesterol levels became some of the most widely prescribed drugs globally. While these medications can be life-saving for certain individuals, their widespread use to manage conditions potentially exacerbated or even initiated by flawed dietary advice highlights a system often more focused on treating symptoms rather than addressing the underlying root causes, which may lie in our collective departure from species-appropriate nutrition. Within this established medical paradigm, dissenting voices often faced an uphill battle. Physicians, scientists, or nutritionists who dared to question the entrenched anti-fat dogma, or who presented evidence supporting the benefits of diets richer in animal products, were frequently labeled as outliers, contrarians, or even irresponsible. Securing funding for research that challenged prevailing theories was difficult, and publishing such findings could be met with skepticism from peer reviewers steeped in the conventional wisdom. This environment made it challenging for alternative perspectives to gain traction, thereby slowing the process of scientific course correction and perpetuating dietary advice that many now believe to be fundamentally flawed, contributing to the health crises we observe today. In the fervent rush to embrace the new dietary guidelines championing low-fat, plant-heavy regimens, a vast repository of human experience was often overlooked or conveniently dismissed. The robust health and remarkable longevity observed in certain traditional populations subsisting on diets rich in animal products. Populations such as the Arctic Inuit with their diet of seal, whale, and fish, or the African Maasai, thriving on meat, milk, and blood, presented inconvenient truths. These living examples, whose ancestral ways of eating stood in stark contrast to the newly minted nutritional advice, were frequently treated as curious anomalies rather than as valuable sources of insight into human dietary adaptability and the potential benefits of animal-based nutrition. Their enduring vitality was a testament to a different path. Furthermore, even as the anti-fat crusade gained momentum, there were astute scientific voices urging caution and pointing to alternative culprits in the rise of chronic diseases. Figures like Yudkin, a British physiologist and nutritionist, presented compelling evidence in the mid-20th century suggesting that sugar, not fat, was the more significant dietary factor driving obesity, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. However, Yudkin's meticulous research and stark warnings were largely overshadowed, underfunded, and some argue actively suppressed by powerful interests within the sugar industry and by proponents of the dominant fat-centric hypothesis. The narrative had been set, and dissenting data struggled to penetrate the prevailing consensus. The power of confirmation bias within the scientific community and public policy bodies played a significant role in solidifying the war on meat and animal fats. Once a particular theory, such as the diet heart hypothesis focused on saturated fat, becomes widely accepted, it creates a lens through which new evidence is interpreted. Data supporting the established view is readily accepted and amplified, while contradictory findings may be subjected to intense scrutiny, dismissed as flawed, or simply ignored. This self-perpetuating cycle makes it exceedingly difficult to challenge an entrenched paradigm, even when accumulating evidence suggests a critical re-evaluation is warranted, delaying progress and perpetuating potentially harmful advice for decades. The ultimate casualty in this protracted war on traditional foods, particularly meat and animal fats, has been public health. The collective amnesia regarding our species' long evolutionary history as consumers of animal products, coupled with the silencing or marginalization of dissenting scientific voices and ancestral wisdom, has contributed significantly to the alarming epidemics of obesity, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, and other chronic, non-communicable diseases that now plague modern societies. It represents a profound deviation from nature's blueprint. To reclaim our health, both individually and collectively, requires a courageous re-examination of these historical missteps and a renewed appreciation for the foods that nourished our ancestors and shaped our very biology through the vastness of time. Deep within the labyrinthine coils of the human digestive tract, there exists an ecosystem of astonishing complexity, a teeming, vibrant world invisible to the naked eye. This is the gut microbiome, a vast community of trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea that inhabit our intestines. This internal wilderness, far from being a passive collection of microbes, plays an undeniably critical role in our overall health and well-being, influencing everything from nutrient absorption and immune system development to mood regulation and even our susceptibility to chronic disease. It is a delicate dance of symbiosis, a partnership forged over millennia between host and microbe, where balance is paramount. The sheer diversity and metabolic capacity of this microbial community are truly staggering. These microscopic inhabitants perform a multitude of functions that our own bodies are not equipped to handle. They assist in the breakdown of certain food components, synthesize essential vitamins like K and several B vitamins, and help to train and modulate our immune system, teaching it to distinguish between friend and foe. A healthy, balanced microbiome acts as a protective barrier, preventing pathogenic organisms from gaining a foothold and contributing to the integrity of the intestinal lining. This intricate interplay is fundamental to our physiological harmony, a silent internal orchestra playing the music of health. However, this delicate internal ecosystem is profoundly sensitive to external influences, particularly the foods we consume. The modern Western diet, often characterized by highly processed foods, refined sugars, industrial seed oils, and a fluctuating array of chemical additives, can exert immense pressure on this microbial community. Such dietary patterns can disrupt the intricate balance, leading to a state known as dysbiosis, where less beneficial or even harmful microbes proliferate at the expense of beneficial ones. This imbalance can compromise the gut barrier, leading to increased intestinal permeability, often referred to as leaky gut, a condition increasingly implicated in a wide spectrum of health issues that extend far beyond the digestive system itself. Therefore, understanding the needs of our gut microbiome is not merely an academic exercise, it is fundamental to fostering robust health and resilience. The choices we make at every meal have a direct and profound impact on this inner world. For decades, the prevailing narrative has championed certain dietary components, such as plant fiber, as universally beneficial for these microbes. Yet, as we delve deeper into the science and consider our evolutionary context, a more nuanced understanding begins to emerge, one that questions these established dogmas and explores how different dietary strategies, including a meat-based approach, might uniquely support or restore this critical microbial balance for certain individuals. For many years, dietary fiber, predominantly sourced from plant materials, has been lauded as an indispensable component for a healthy gut and regular bowel function. The prevailing message has been clear and consistent. Consume ample amounts of fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes to feed your beneficial gut bacteria and to ensure the smooth transit of waste through the digestive system. This notion is deeply ingrained in public health advice and nutritional guidelines worldwide. The image of fiber as a benign cleansing agent sweeping through our intestines has become a cornerstone of conventional dietary wisdom, rarely questioned by the mainstream. However, the human digestive system, when examined through an evolutionary lens, presents certain anatomical features that invite a re-evaluation of this universal reliance on high fiber intake. Our colons, the primary site of fiber fermentation by bacteria, are relatively short and structurally simpler compared to those of dedicated herbivores like gorillas or cows. These herbivores possess large, complex colons designed for the extensive microbial breakdown of tough plant cellulose to extract energy. Humans, by contrast, have a longer, small intestine optimized for the absorption of readily available nutrients, such as those found in animal tissues, suggesting that our primary digestive strategy leans more towards efficient nutrient extraction than extensive fermentation. While certain types of fiber can indeed be fermented by gut bacteria to produce beneficial short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, it is not the only pathway to their production, nor is all fiber benign for all individuals. For many, particularly those with pre-existing gut sensitivities, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, or inflammatory bowel conditions like Crohn's disease, high intakes of fiber, especially insoluble fiber, can exacerbate symptoms. Instead of soothing the gut, these fibers can act as physical irritants, increasing bloating, gas, abdominal pain, and irregular bowel habits. The notion that more fiber is always better is a simplification that fails to account for individual digestive capacities and conditions. Indeed, emerging research and a wealth of anecdotal evidence suggest that for some individuals, reducing or even eliminating plant fiber can lead to significant improvements in digestive comfort and function. Studies have indicated that low-fiber or zero-fiber diets can alleviate symptoms of constipation and reduce the discomfort associated with conditions like IBS. This does not inherently mean that fiber is bad, but rather that its role is more complex and context-dependent than previously assumed. The ancestral human diet likely varied greatly in fiber content depending on geography and season, and our physiology may be better adapted to periods of lower fiber intake than modern dietary guidelines often suggest. Plants have evolved chemical defenses to deter predators which can affect humans, especially those with sensitive digestive systems. Among these are lectins, oxalates, and phytates, which can disrupt digestive health and nutrient absorption. Lectins, found in grains, legumes, and nightshade vegetables, can interfere with nutrient absorption and trigger inflammation. Oxalates, present in foods like spinach and nuts, can form sharp crystals, causing gut irritation and kidney stones. Phytates found in grains and seeds can reduce mineral absorption. Traditional food preparation methods can reduce these compounds, but modern diets often keep their levels high. These plant compounds, while protective for plants, can challenge human nutrient status and gut health. Understanding these hidden irritants can help manage their impact on our health. Meat's gentle touch, soothing inflammation and promoting healing. Animal-based foods, primarily muscle meat, organ meats and fats, are highly digestible and require minimal processing by gut bacteria. This ease of digestion reduces the inflammatory load on the gut. For those with gut sensitivities, a meat-based diet can offer profound relief. Animal products provide essential nutrients for gut healing, like complete proteins and amino acids. Zinc and omega-3 fatty acids from meat support gut integrity and reduce inflammation. A diet centered around animal foods can minimize antinutrients and excessive fermentation, allowing the gut to heal. This can lead to reduced chronic gut inflammation and improved nutrient absorption. For many, this shift represents a path towards digestive peace and overall well-being. The carnivore gut transformation, microbial shifts and metabolic harmony. A meat-based diet significantly transforms the gut microbiome. While fiber-fermenting bacteria may decrease, proteolytic bacteria flourish. This shift doesn't equate to a less healthy gut, but reflects adaptation to a new fuel source. Reduced fermentation of undigested carbohydrates leads to less gas and bloating. Butyrate, essential for colon health, can be produced from amino acids and ketones. The carnivore diet can reduce gut inflammation and support intestinal barrier healing. This fosters a stable, less inflammatory gut environment. Improved digestive function and reduced symptoms often follow this microbial adaptation. Beyond digestion, the gut-brain axis, and systemic calm on carnivore. The gut-brain axis connects gut health to mental well-being. A meat-based diet can reduce gut inflammation, benefiting the brain. Decreased inflammatory cytokines and endotoxins improve mental clarity and mood. Removing plant irritants can reduce immune activation and neurological irritation. Many report reduced anxiety and brain fog on a carnivore diet. Improved gut health can lead to systemic well-being. A healthier gut barrier and modulated microbiome reduce overall inflammation. The carnivore diet can promote a tranquil mind and resilient body. Nutritional myths often persist due to entrenched beliefs and commercial interests. These myths become ingrained habits and cultural norms. Questioning established nutritional narratives can be challenging. Genuine health requires critical thinking and re-evaluating long-held assumptions. Nutrition science is evolving, and our understanding of food and physiology is constantly refined. Progress lies in open-minded re-evaluation based on robust information. We will examine common dietary myths about fiber, cholesterol, and protein. Dissecting these myths with scientific evidence can clear misinformation. The goal is to empower you with clarity and distinguish between truths and nutritional dogma. The belief in the necessity of dietary fiber is deeply embedded. However, human anatomy suggests a more nuanced picture. Many on a carnivorous diet report fewer digestive issues. Scientific literature challenges the universal need for high fiber intake. Reducing fiber can improve chronic constipation and digestive distress. High fiber foods can exacerbate conditions like IBS and diverticulitis. Fiber's impact is individual and context dependent. For many, reducing fiber allows the digestive system to find a less agitated rhythm. The body often knows what truly brings it peace when freed from dogma. For more than half a century, dietary cholesterol and saturated fats have been cast as the primary antagonists in the narrative of heart disease. Foods rich in these components, succulent red meat, golden egg yolks, creamy butter and nourishing liver, were systematically demonized. We were sternly warned that their consumption would inevitably lead to clogged arteries, heart attacks and premature death. This fear campaign was largely rooted in epidemiological studies, most notably Ansel Keys' 7-country study, which, as we've seen, selectively presented data to fit a preconceived hypothesis. The resulting diet-heart hypothesis became deeply entrenched, influencing dietary guidelines and medical advice for decades, despite a growing body of evidence challenging its very foundations. Modern nutritional science, however, is painting a far more complex and nuanced picture of these misunderstood molecules. It is becoming increasingly clear that dietary cholesterol has a minimal impact on blood cholesterol levels for most people, as the body tightly regulates its own cholesterol production. Furthermore, the simplistic notion that high LDL cholesterol, often dubbed bad cholesterol, directly causes heart disease is being re-evaluated. The context matters immensely. Factors such as the size and density of LDL particles, the triglyceride to HDL ratio, levels of chronic inflammation, and crucially insulin resistance are now recognized as far more reliable predictors of cardiovascular risk than total or LDL cholesterol alone. These are the markers that truly tell a story of metabolic health. On a well-formulated carnivore diet, rich in natural saturated fats and cholesterol, many individuals experience remarkable improvements in these key cardiovascular markers. Typically, triglycerides plummet. HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol, rises significantly, and markers of inflammation, such as C-reactive protein, often decrease. While LDL cholesterol levels may increase in some individuals, it is often accompanied by a shift towards larger, fluffier LDL particles, which are considered less atherogenic. Moreover, cholesterol is not a villain to be eradicated. It's an essential substance, vital for cell membrane integrity, brain function, and the synthesis of crucial hormones including vitamin D, testosterone, and estrogen. It is, quite literally, scaffolding for life. The truth, slowly emerging from the shadow of outdated dogma, is that meat, eggs, and natural animal fats did not break our hearts. Instead, the finger of blame points more convincingly towards the industrial concoctions that replaced them. Refined carbohydrates, excessive sugar intake, and the pervasive presence of unstable inflammatory seed oils. These are the dietary factors that drive insulin resistance and chronic inflammation, the true culprits behind much of modern cardiovascular disease. Saturated fats, consumed as part of a whole food, ancestrally consistent diet, are a stable, reliable source of energy, essential building blocks that our bodies have recognized and utilized for millennia. Section 4. The kidney conundrum, protein's power, not its peril. A persistent whisper, often escalating to a confident assertion within nutritional circles, suggests that high-protein diets, particularly those rich in animal protein, place an undue strain on the kidneys, potentially leading to damage or disease. This concern has caused many to approach meat-centric ways of eating with trepidation, fearing for the long-term health of these vital organs. The genesis of this fear often lies in a misunderstanding or misapplication of clinical observations. Specifically, patients who already suffer from established severe kidney disease are indeed often advised to restrict protein intake to manage their condition, as their compromised kidneys struggle to excrete the byproducts of protein metabolism. However, it is a significant logical leap, and one not supported by robust evidence, to extrapolate these recommendations for sick kidneys to the functioning of healthy kidneys. For individuals with normal renal function, there is no compelling clinical data to suggest that consuming a high-protein diet, including one based on animal products, causes kidney damage or initiates kidney disease. In fact, the human body is remarkably well adapted to processing dietary protein. Our kidneys are designed to filter waste products, including urea derived from protein metabolism. And a higher protein intake simply means they efficiently perform this natural function, often with an increase in filtration rate, which is an adaptive, not a pathological response. Indeed, the available scientific evidence tends to show the opposite of what the myth proclaims. Studies on healthy individuals consuming high-protein diets generally do not find evidence of kidney damage. On the contrary, adequate and even generous animal protein intake is crucial for maintaining overall health, which indirectly supports kidney function. Protein provides the essential amino acids necessary for muscle repair and growth, immune function, hormone production, and the maintenance of bone density. It supports glomerular filtration rates and healthy nitrogen balance. To restrict protein out of an unfounded fear is to potentially deprive the body of the very building blocks it needs to thrive and repair itself effectively. The narrative of protein peril for healthy kidneys is largely a myth, born from confusion between cause and correlation, and between therapeutic restrictions for existing disease versus preventative measures for healthy individuals. For those blessed with healthy renal function, animal protein is not a threat, but a source of power and regeneration. Even for individuals with certain pre-existing kidney conditions, carefully formulated meat-based diets undertaken with professional medical supervision can sometimes be part of a beneficial nutritional strategy. It is time to shift the focus from unfounded fear to a clear understanding of protein's vital role in supporting a strong, resilient, and well-functioning human body. Section 5. Jonathan's Testament: Living Proof Against the Grain of Myth. These pervasive dietary myths, the supposed necessity of fiber, the vilification of cholesterol and saturated fat, the fear of protein for kidney health, were not just abstract concepts for me. They were part of the confusing nutritional landscape I navigated for years. Like many, I was exposed to the conventional wisdom, the dietary guidelines that promised health, but often delivered a complex set of rules that felt disconnected from true instinctual nourishment. The advice was to load up on plant matter, to meticulously avoid the very animal fats our ancestors prized, and to be wary of consuming too much meat, lest it lead to a cascade of metabolic problems. This was the prevailing narrative against which my own journey of healing eventually unfolded. When I finally stripped away the layers of dietary dogma and embraced a way of eating centered on meat, salt and water, the results were a direct refutation of these entrenched myths. My digestion, once a source of discomfort despite ample fiber intake, found a new calm. Bloating and irritation became relics of the past. Concerns about heart health, cultivated by decades of anti-fat rhetoric, were alleviated as my blood markers for inflammation and metabolic health consistently improved. And my kidneys, after years of consuming substantial quantities of high-quality animal protein, they function perfectly, a testament to their inherent capacity to handle the very foods that built human physiology over millennia. There is a profound liberation in discovering that your own body can serve as the ultimate arbiter of nutritional truth. When personal experience aligns with emerging science and ancestral patterns, it creates an unshakable conviction. The fear-based nutrition that keeps so many people trapped in cycles of confusion and ill health begins to lose its power. My body didn't just tolerate this way of eating, it thrived. It knew intrinsically how to utilize the dense nutrition from animal sources, how to burn fat for fuel efficiently, and how to rebuild and repair with the complete proteins and essential fats that meat provides in abundance. This was not restriction, it was a return to a powerful, primal simplicity. My journey through these myths and out the other side stands as a lived testament. It is an invitation for others to question, to explore, and to listen to the profound wisdom of their own biology. While scientific research is invaluable, The direct experience of renewed vitality, of pain diminishing and strength returning, speaks with an undeniable authority. The myths may persist in textbooks and public pronouncements for some time to come, but the truth, for me and for countless others, is carved into the very fabric of our reclaimed health. Our bodies, when fed in accordance with their design, become living proof against the grain of outdated dietary beliefs. Section 1. The unseen battle within, when the body betrays itself. For countless individuals across the globe, life unfolds not as a journey of boundless energy and effortless well-being, but as a persistent, often silent, struggle. It is a battle waged within, where the body's own defense mechanisms, designed to protect, instead turn inward, attacking healthy tissues with relentless precision. This is the bewildering world of chronic illness and autoimmune disease, a realm where the very systems meant to ensure vitality become agents of their own betrayal. The days are marked by an invisible weariness, a pain that has no obvious external cause, and a future that can seem shrouded in uncertainty, a stark contrast to the vibrant health nature intends. Conventional medicine, for all its remarkable advancements, often finds itself at a loss when confronted by these enigmatic conditions. The approach frequently becomes one of symptom management, a delicate and sometimes exhausting balancing act of medications designed to suppress an overactive immune system or to alleviate persistent inflammation. Potent drugs, often accompanied by a litany of side effects, may offer temporary respite, but rarely do they address the underlying root cause of the discord. Patients can find themselves navigating a labyrinth of specialists, prescriptions and protocols, feeling as though they are merely patching leaks in a ship that continues to take on water, searching for an anchor in a turbulent sea of symptoms. Yet, what if the key to calming this internal turmoil, to quieting the body's misguided assault, lies not in the latest pharmaceutical invention, but in something far more fundamental? Something deeply ancestral. What if the solution can be found in the very sustenance we provide our bodies, the daily fuel that builds and maintains every cell? For many who have walked this arduous path, when the sophisticated tools of modern medicine have offered limited solace, the profound simplicity of nature's original nourishment offers an unexpected beacon of hope. Food in its most elemental form can become a powerful instrument of healing, a way to communicate directly with our embattled biology. Consider the diverse array of conditions where this internal conflict manifests. The systemic inflammation of lupus, the joint destruction of rheumatoid arthritis, the neurological siege of multiple sclerosis. Think of the ravaged intestines in Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, the constant reactivity of severe allergies and asthma, or the overwhelming sensory and neurological challenges experienced by those with autism spectrum disorders. Beneath the surface of these varied diagnoses often lie common threads: profound food sensitivities, chronic immune dysregulation, a compromised gut barrier, allowing invaders in, and a fundamental disruption in the energy powerhouses of our cells, the mitochondria. These are the battlegrounds where diet may offer a profound intervention. The emerging understanding of how a meat-based or carnivore diet can profoundly impact autoimmune conditions hinges on two primary principles: radical elimination and potent renourishment. Firstly, this approach systematically removes a vast array of potential dietary triggers that are known to provoke inflammation and immune reactivity in susceptible individuals. Many plant foods, despite their perceived health halo, contain compounds that can act as irritants to the gut lining or as direct stimulants to an already overzealous immune system. These include lectins, oxalates, salicylates, and naturally occurring histamines, which can perpetuate a cycle of inflammation and discomfort for those sensitive to their effects. Beyond these plant-specific compounds, a strictly meat-based diet also eliminates other common offenders such as gluten, found in wheat and other grains, and casein, a protein in dairy, both of which are notorious for their potential to cause cross-reactivity and immune responses in sensitive individuals. Furthermore, the absence of indigestible plant fiber can be a significant boon for an already inflamed or irritated gut. While fiber is often touted for gut health, for a compromised system, it can act as an abrasive, further damaging the delicate intestinal lining and feeding microbial imbalances that contribute to inflammation. By stripping the diet back to its most ancestrally congruent components, these constant aggressors are removed, giving the body a crucial chance to rest and recalibrate. Secondly, the carnivore diet provides an exceptionally concentrated source of highly bioavailable nutrients essential for immune regulation and tissue repair. Animal products are unparalleled in their delivery of heme iron, crucial for oxygen transport and energy, preformed vitamin A or retinol, vital for immune function and mucosal health, and vitamin B12, indispensable for neurological health and cell replication. Zinc, abundant in red meat, plays a critical role in calming inflammation and supporting gut barrier integrity. Moreover, amino acids like taurine and carnitine, found plentifully in meat, support mitochondrial function and cellular energy production, which are often impaired in chronic autoimmune states. The complete amino acid profiles found in animal proteins are particularly important for regulating T-cell behavior, key players in the immune response, and for providing the literal building blocks to repair and rebuild a damaged gut mucosa. As the gut lining heals and leaky gut resolves, the influx of inflammatory substances into the bloodstream diminishes. This in turn can lead to a significant reduction in systemic inflammation. Anecdotal reports and early-stage clinical observations consistently show a drop in inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein or CRP, and erythrocyte sedimentation rate or ESR, and even a decline in specific autoimmune antibodies like ANA, suggesting a profound immune recalibration is taking place. For individuals on the autism spectrum and for those grappling with other neurological conditions, the world can often feel like an overwhelming barrage of sensory input, a relentless storm of stimuli that makes finding peace a constant challenge. The internal landscape, too, can be turbulent, marked by anxiety, sleep disturbances, and difficulties with emotional regulation and executive function. As Jonathan, our narrator and guide on this journey, can personally attest, the search for stability in this neurological maelstrom is a deeply personal and often arduous quest. Conventional therapies may offer some support, but the profound impact of dietary intervention, particularly a meat-based approach, is a pathway to calm that is gaining increasing recognition. The carnivore diet, in its stark simplicity, offers a unique form of solace for the neurologically sensitive. By drastically reducing the biochemical noise that many common foods can create, it establishes a foundation of unparalleled stability. The removal of gut irritants, the lectins, oxalates, phytates, and complex carbohydrates that can fuel inflammation and dysbiosis is paramount. An inflamed gut, as we know, often translates to an inflamed brain via the intricate gut-brain axis. By calming the gut, we often see a corresponding quieting of neurological distress, a reduction in the static that can interfere with clear thoughts and emotional equilibrium. One of the most significant benefits reported is the stabilization of blood sugar levels. The typical Western diet, high in refined carbohydrates and sugars, leads to relentless peaks and troughs in blood glucose, which can profoundly affect mood, energy, and cognitive function, particularly in sensitive individuals. A meat-based diet, inherently very low in carbohydrates, provides sustained energy, primarily from fat, eliminating these disruptive swings. This metabolic shift to fat burning can contribute to more even energy levels throughout the day, reduced irritability, fewer meltdowns, and often remarkably improved sleep quality, which is foundational for neurological repair and daytime functioning. The cumulative effect of these changes can be transformative. Parents and individuals frequently report significant improvements in areas where traditional interventions have struggled. Sensory overload may become less pronounced, allowing for greater tolerance of previously overwhelming environments. Social regulation can improve, with individuals finding it easier to connect and interact. Language development and executive functions such as planning and focus may show noticeable gains. For Jonathan and many others like him, the carnivore diet is not about deprivation. It is about creating a sanctuary of simplicity and predictability, an anchor that allows the mind to find stillness and the body to find its innate capacity for balance and calm. Section 4. Whispers of Reversal, Stories of Hope and Emerging Understanding. Across the globe, a quiet yet profound revolution is taking place, often far from the headlines and the mainstream medical discourse. It is a movement driven not by pharmaceutical companies or celebrity endorsements, but by individuals in the throes of chronic suffering who have found unexpected relief and reclamation through the power of ancestral nutrition. These are the mothers witnessing transformative changes in their children with autism, the sons and daughters seeing their elderly parents regain vitality, and the warriors who, after years or even decades of battling debilitating autoimmune conditions, are finally laying down their arms, not in defeat but in newfound peace. The stories emerging from this grassroots movement are both compelling and deeply moving. Individuals with conditions like rheumatoid arthritis report a dramatic reduction in joint pain and swelling, allowing them to reduce or even discontinue powerful immunosuppressant medications. Those with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis share accounts of long-sought remission, their digestive systems finally finding calm after years of turmoil. People plagued by severe skin conditions like psoriasis or eczema often experience a clearing of their symptoms, revealing healthy skin beneath. These are not isolated anecdotes, but a growing chorus of voices testifying to the profound impact of removing dietary triggers and nourishing the body with species-appropriate food. While large-scale, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials on the carnivore diet for specific autoimmune conditions are still in their nascent stages, a common challenge for dietary interventions that lack pharmaceutical funding. The accumulation of case reports, observational data, and preliminary studies is beginning to paint a consistent picture. Researchers are noting significant improvements in inflammatory markers, patient-reported outcomes, and quality-of-life measures. The common denominator in these accounts is the dramatic reduction in systemic inflammation, the healing of the gut lining, and the provision of highly bioavailable nutrients that support cellular repair and immune modulation, all stemming from this radical dietary shift. Perhaps most striking of all is the consistent theme of empowerment. For so long, many with chronic illnesses have felt like passive recipients of a diagnosis, their lives dictated by symptoms and medication schedules. The discovery that they can actively influence their health, often profoundly through dietary choices, can be incredibly liberating. Energy returns, not just the physical capacity to do more, but a renewed zest for life. Pain diminishes, freeing up mental and emotional space. And the medications they were told they would need for a lifetime are in many instances carefully tapered and, for some, eventually discontinued under medical supervision. This is the powerful whisper of reversal, a testament to the body's innate capacity to heal when given the right conditions. Section 5. Jonathan's Journey. A personal testament to primal healing. My own path, as I have shared, has been carved through the challenging terrain of multiple chronic conditions. Autism spectrum disorder has shaped my perception of the world since birth. Complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS, brought an unimaginable, relentless fire of pain. Chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS, layered on a pervasive, bone-deep exhaustion. A spinal fusion, a necessary intervention, added its own complexities to movement and recovery. For years, my life was a litany of diagnoses, a seemingly endless parade of specialists and a pharmacy's worth of prescriptions, each promising relief, yet none delivering a true return to vitality, none silencing the deep discord within my system. The turning point came not from a new drug or an innovative therapy, but from a radical act of simplification, a return to the most fundamental principles of nourishment. When I stripped everything away, the plant-based foods with their hidden irritants, the processed concoctions, the complex protocols and powders that promised so much yet delivered so little, and embraced a diet consisting solely of meat, salt and water, something profound began to shift. It was as if my body, long burdened by inputs it could not properly process, finally exhaled. This was not a diet of restriction in the conventional sense. It was a diet of liberation from constant biological assault. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the chronic pain, that unyielding inferno, began to soften its grip. The intensity lessened, the flare-ups became less frequent, less severe. The oppressive mental fog that had clouded my thoughts for so long started to lift, revealing a clarity I had almost forgotten was possible. My energy levels, though still requiring careful management, found a more stable baseline, free from the jarring crashes that once punctuated my days. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a sense of possibility began to bloom in the barren landscape of chronic illness. Meat, the very food group so often maligned, became the foundation of my healing. This personal journey is not offered as a universal prescription, but as a testament to the power that lies in aligning our consumption with our ancient biology. When the body is provided with the specific building blocks it evolved to thrive upon, the complete proteins, the essential fatty acids, the readily absorbable vitamins and minerals found in animal tissues, its innate capacity for repair and regulation can reassert itself. For me, the carnivore diet was not a fad, it was a lifeline. It was the key that unlocked a door back to a life I thought was lost, proving that even in the face of complex, entrenched illness, nature's blueprint holds an enduring and potent wisdom. Section 1. The Tapestry Rewoven, a Return to Biological Congruence. Our journey through the annals of human existence has been long and illuminating. We've traversed millennia from the dawn of our species, shaped by relentless hunts, to the bewildering dietary landscapes of today. For vast epochs, the flesh of beasts provided the dense energy, the critical nutrients that sculpted our very being. This was nature's unambiguous provision, a blueprint etched into our genes over countless generations. Yet in a mere flicker of evolutionary time, we veered from this ancestral path, embracing novel foods and novel fears. The tapestry of our health, once vibrant, began to fray under this modern strain, the original design obscured by layers of well-intentioned yet often misguided advice, leading us to question the foundations of our nourishment. Yet as we have chronicled, the latter half of the 20th century saw a dramatic and bewildering deviation from this ancestral path. A war on meat was declared, fueled by selective science and amplified by industrial interests that prioritized shelf life over sustenance. Sacred, traditional fats, once revered for their life-giving properties, were systematically demonized. Cholesterol, a molecule essential for life itself, became a feared entity. And protein, the very building block of our tissues, was eyed with undue suspicion, particularly concerning the health of our vital kidneys. These pervasive myths, woven into the fabric of official dietary guidelines, steered populations away from the very foods that had sustained them for eons. The consequences of this great dietary experiment are now starkly apparent in the rising tides of chronic disease, a clear testament to the perils of abandoning nature's carefully laid design. Throughout our journey, we have witnessed the profound potential for healing when this congruence between diet and design is restored. We have explored how a return to a meat-centric diet can soothe the embattled gut, calming the fires of inflammation and resealing the delicate intestinal barrier that guards our inner sanctum. We have seen how this dietary shift can offer profound respite to those struggling with autoimmune conditions where the body's own sophisticated defense mechanisms have mistakenly turned inward, attacking its own tissues. For individuals navigating the often overwhelming complexities of autism and other neurological sensitivities, the inherent simplicity and biochemical stability of animal-based nutrition can provide a much-needed anchor, quieting the internal storm and fostering a sense of calm. These are not merely anecdotal triumphs, but powerful indicators of the body's innate capacity to heal. Therefore, the carnivore way of eating, as we have presented it throughout this exploration, is far more than a fleeting dietary trend or a restrictive regimen born of modern whims. It represents a conscious, informed return to biological first principles, a profound rediscovery of nature's forgotten blueprint for optimal human health. The evidence, drawn from the deep well of our evolutionary past, from the intricate details of our complex physiology, from the growing body of rigorous scientific inquiry, and from the compelling lived experiences of individuals reclaiming their vitality, converges on a powerful truth. Animal-based foods, rich in life-sustaining nutrients, are not merely compatible with human health. For many, they are fundamental to achieving its fullest, most vibrant expression, a key to unlocking ancestral resilience. Section 2, The Path Forward, Embracing Ancestral Wisdom in a Modern World. We stand today at a fascinating and perhaps critical crossroads, inhabitants of a technologically advanced world, yet still carrying the ancient biology of our hunter-gatherer forebears. The glittering allure of modernity, with its undeniable conveniences and intricate complexities, often obscures the fundamental unyielding truths of our physiological needs. Our genes, sculpted over eons of scarcity and specific forms of nourishment, have not kept pace with the lightning-fast dietary shifts of recent centuries, creating a chasm between our programming and our practice. Embracing the principles of ancestral nutrition, such as those exemplified by the carnivore diet, is not an attempt to rewind time or forsake progress, but rather a sophisticated, intentional strategy to bridge this profound evolutionary mismatch for enhanced well-being. This path forward invites each individual to engage in a deeply personal journey of exploration and critical discernment. It encourages a bold questioning of entrenched dietary dogma, a courageous willingness to look beyond the often conflicting headlines and deeply ingrained societal norms about what constitutes a healthy plate. The story of Jonathan, whose profound healing journey has been a guiding thread through our narrative, serves as a powerful testament to the transformative potential that lies in such courageous inquiry and self-experimentation. It is a call to listen, not just to external authorities or prevailing opinions, but to the subtle and profound wisdom of one's own body, to observe its responses when provided with the foods it truly recognizes and demonstrably thrives upon. The promise held within this ancestral approach extends far beyond the mere alleviation of symptoms or the clinical management of diagnosed disease. It is a promise of reclaiming a vibrant, sustained energy that fuels our days, a robust physical strength that allows us to engage fully with life, and a clear, focused mental acuity that many in our modern world have come to believe is an unattainable luxury. It is about rediscovering the profound satisfaction and deep lasting satiety that come from eating in a way that truly nourishes every cell, every system. This journey towards nature's blueprint is, at its heart, a reconnection with a fundamental aspect of our humanity, the intrinsic, undeniable link between what we eat and how we experience the world around us. As the sun sets on our exploration, let us carry forward this enduring truth. Nature's blueprint for human health, forged in the crucible of evolution over countless millennia, remains remarkably resilient and profoundly relevant to our lives today. Though it may have been obscured by the dietary diversions and industrialized foods of recent times, this ancient wisdom patiently awaits our rediscovery, holding keys to vitality we may have thought were lost. By heeding its call, by choosing to nourish ourselves in accordance with our deep biological heritage, we may unlock not only improved physical well-being, but also a more profound connection to the natural world and to the enduring strength that lies within us. The path to a healthier future, it seems, may indeed be illuminated by the clear, unwavering wisdom of our distant past.
In a world where strength defines legends, unleash your inner legend. Join the Carnivore Muscle movement today.